Hello everyone and welcome back to my true crime channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a very tragic case of a missing 5-year-old girl. That girl is Summer Wells and she's been missing for the last 2 weeks from her home in Tennessee, USA. Now Summer Wells went missing 2 weeks ago on Tuesday the 15th of June, so that's a fortnight ago yesterday, and she went missing from her family home in Tennessee. She'd been playing at the front of her home with her mother and her grandmother, planting flowers in the garden, when she asked to go back inside to play with her toys. Apparently, her mother saw her go back into the house. She went down to the basement to play with her toys. She's never seen again. Now, it's a really weird case, and I'm going to be honest straight away, guys. The reason that I want to cover it is because the minute I saw the parents, I detected deception. Sorry, I've got to be honest about how I feel, but I feel they know where Summer is. I feel they've got guilty knowledge. Obviously, I don't know if they've killed the little girl, but I do suspect, sadly, that she may have passed away. Maybe there was an accident and they covered it up. I don't know what's gone on, but something stinks about this case, and the fact that they continually talk about their daughter in a past tense and then apologise for it because they've been brought up on it by people that have already watched this interview in America that they've given to the press in the last day or two. Basically, I find them suspicious. So that's why I want to cover the case today. I hope and I pray that Summer Wells is found safe and well, but I'm starting to wonder that that's not going to happen. So let me give you a little bit of background about Summer and where she's from. So Summer Wells is a 5-year-old girl who, as I said, went missing on Tuesday, the 15th of June this year, just 2 weeks ago, this week. She lived in Tennessee with her parents in a place called Hawkins County. Her parents are called Candus, I think it's Candace, or it might be Candice, but I think it's Candace Wells, or I believe she now goes by her former name of Bly, so it's Candice Bly. Now the father is called Don Wells, and Candice and Don have other children. I'm not sure if they're all with her current husband, I'm not fully certain, but there are 3 older brothers who are very much missing their little sister. So what I find really weird about this case, forgetting the parents for a minute, I'll get to them later, is how the little girl went missing. She's playing out the front of her house with her mother and her grandmother. They're planting flowers in the garden. She goes inside the house to play. Now, her older brothers are in the house. Her mum and her grandmother are on the front or some perimeter of the house doing the gardening. How could she possibly have disappeared? Now, what's really weird is a bit Madeleine McCann-esque. The parents immediately claimed abduction. He talks about her in a past tense. The mother talks about her in a past tense. There doesn't appear to be any urgency to find her. The mother does look a bit medicated. Again, if I'm wrong about that, I'm sorry, but she could be medicated due to the stress. I don't know. I don't like to call people out this soon after a case breaks, but I said the other day in one of my other videos about Caroline Crouch's murder, I wished I'd called her husband Babis out as soon as I saw him on the telly, because I knew he was guilty as hell. And I've got to be honest, I don't know what they're guilty of exactly yet, but the parents definitely have guilty knowledge about the little girl's disappearance, and we're currently waiting for the 911 call, I believe made by the dad, to be made public. As soon as I can get my mitts on that, I will of course analyse it for you guys, and I'll make a separate video as and when we get updates on the case. But if any of you guys can get access to that 911 call before me, and you could possibly send me a link for it, I'd be really grateful, because I thought I'd found it this morning so I could include it in my video, but it wouldn't let me go on the site, I believe because it's an American site that won't let British people look at it, which is a bit weird. So if anyone can find that 911 call, please let me know in the comments, and if you can possibly link me to where you can find it on the internet, I'd be extremely grateful, because I really want to analyse that call, because potentially deception could be detected from the father during that call, and until I hear it I can't be certain on what's happened here, but I'm fairly certain that the parents have got guilty knowledge. So currently there is a huge search operation in Tennessee in Hawkins County for 5-year-old missing girl Summer Wells. It strikes a bit of the Madeleine McCann case. Okay, she's a little bit older, she hasn't gone missing on holiday, but there's something not quite right here. What's a bit different to Madeleine McCann's parents is, so far Summer's parents have cooperated with the police. Apparently they did look for her as soon as she went missing and informed the police quite soon afterwards. But like I said, their language that they use, the past tense, the mother doesn't really refer to her as Summer. She just sort of calls her her daughter, which is self-distancing language. The father does say Summer's name more than the mother, but the father admitted that he's almost sort of given up hope and is starting to wonder if she's dead. Now, any parent of a missing child doesn't give up hope after a fortnight. Now, I know you'd be despairing. I know you'd maybe potentially become depressed, stressed, anxious. Of course, you're going to feel those feelings. Your child is missing. But to process it after a fortnight and already be thinking that she's dead is a bit abnormal, in my opinion. I've studied a lot of missing cases of children, or missing people's cases, sorry, and not normally do you come across someone that accepts that the person might be dead after a fortnight. Some people are missing for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Some people have to go throughout the rest of their life with a missing loved one, relative or family member, friend. And in the end, you do have to try and come to accept it, but you don't ever accept that they're dead. Yeah, you might think that it's a possibility, but surely most people would try and err on the side of they're going to come back, they're still alive, try and be positive rather than already accepting that they're dead so soon. So that really doesn't sit very well with me. So something to say about this is the mother, Candus, or Candace, I believe her name is, has basically been on TikTok putting out sort of appeals to find Summer. And unfortunately, a statement that she put out on TikTok spoke of Summer in the past tense. Now, clearly, that has raised red flags for people across America. And I'm sorry to say it raises a red flag for me. No one should really be talking about their daughter or missing child or loved one in a past tense after just 2 weeks of them being missing. That's really quite concerning. That's really quite worrying. So that doesn't sit well with me. Why do both the parents talk about her in a past tense constantly throughout an interview that I've seen them give to the media? I'm going to include that for you guys. And I'm also going to analyse later in the video the statements the parents gave. And not only that, the body language that I see in the video. Their statements are quite strange. They don't appear to have any urgency to want to find Summer. They look like they're trying to fake that they're upset. There's no sort of tears. I mean, the mum looks more upset than the dad, which does make me wonder if it wasn't an accident and the little girl's been murdered, could the dad have done it? Again, guys, just my opinion. I'm just guessing because I don't know what's happened here. Let's hope Summer's found safe and well. But after a fortnight of being missing, somewhere like Tennessee where she lives, where there's quite a big area of massive open land where there are bears, coyotes, rock faces, rough terrain that would not be ideal for a 5-year-old little girl who only weighed 40 pounds, bless her, she was a really little girl, a really small 5-year-old girl, could, survive. She's not going to survive for 2 weeks on her own with no food and no shelter and no water, is she? So it's not looking good. Could she have gone out to play and got lost? That's clearly a possibility, but the abduction theory that her parents put out immediately stinks. The McCanns did the same, and again with Madeleine McCann, although I personally believe the parents were involved, just my opinion, guys, but they never really claimed that Madeleine could have got out of the apartment and walked up the road, which she could have done. They just went straight for the abduction theory, which never sat well with me, and it still doesn't to this day. This doesn't sit well with me that after, hours of her being missing, they're ringing the police and going, she's been abducted. Someone's come in the house, took her out the basement, even though her brothers were upstairs. The mother and the grandmother were in the garden planting some flowers. It seems highly unlikely to me. Okay, I could be wrong without seeing an aerial shot of their house and any sort of surrounding area around the house. Perhaps someone could access from the other side to where the mother and the grandmother were doing the gardening, get the little girl and abduct her. It is possible, but to me it's not possible because apparently she'd only been gone a couple of minutes when the mum goes back into the house, the little girl down in the basement. She says to the boys, her sons, had they seen Summer? And they said, well, no, we think she's in the basement. She shouts down to the basement for Summer. Summer, Summer. Summer doesn't come. And from what she said, whenever she used to call Summer, which was said in the past tense again, Summer would always come when she was called by her mum. So I think they then go down to the basement and realise she's gone. But this is all really quite strange. I mean, I'd be interested to know if the brothers can be interviewed by the police. Not that I think they've got any involvement, but to know, did they see Summer that day? When was the real last time they actually saw their sister? And was anything weird going on within the family? There are claims, and it's just claims in the American media or press at the moment, that the dad had some sort of history of abuse. I'm not sure what that abuse is, and that he's got a criminal record for it. Again, I don't know what that's for. That doesn't mean he's involved here, but I do think the parents have done something here I don't think they would have killed the little girl on purpose, but I think she might have had an accident, and a bit Madeleine McCann-esque, they've tried to cover it up. Now, if they have, they've done a good job, because the body's not been found for a fortnight. Let's hope I'm wrong and there is no body to be found and Summer is safe and well somewhere. But if she's been abducted, that's not good either. Not a good outcome either way. If she's been abducted, let's hope she can be taken back to her family safe and well. But I don't think so. Now, apparently, a red Toyota, I think, a vehicle, I think it might be a van or some sort of truck, was seen in the area. The parents say they didn't see the truck, and the truck's being looked into. There are people searching high and low in the local area because of the terrain. It's extremely tiring for the search parties, so they can only do a few hours at a time. They then have to sort of switch crews because they get really worn out. So at least they're doing the search to the best of their abilities. You know, there's people out with dogs. There are helicopters flying around. They're trying to find this little girl desperately. She's only 5 years old, bless her. I really hope I'm wrong about my thoughts, but the minute I saw the parents on the telly, a bit like Babis and Caroline Crouch's husband, that's another recent case I've covered, I knew within seconds that something wasn't right. Now, I'm not saying I knew they were murderers, but I knew they had guilty knowledge. Sorry, but I did. So I'm going to play for you now a couple of media interviews, or clips, it may be from the same media interview that the parents have given. I'm then going to analyse the statements that they give and the body language that I witness, tell you what I think and where I detect deception. And then I'm going to include just a short clip of the sheriff, the county sheriff, and I think someone else within the police department giving an update on the case, because I think you'd find that quite interesting to see as well. I will then speak again after that just to give my final thoughts on the case, but I just hope this little girl is found. I mean, she's 5 years old, like I said, to be gone missing for a fortnight. No one seems to have any idea where she's gone. And obviously the police can't say if they suspect the parents, that's fair enough. But from what it would seem, so many people on the internet have gone wild about this case because they detect deception like I do from the parents. And they're basically saying to the police, you know, the parents done it. Oh, I saw so-and-so say something on TikTok and so-and-so said something on Facebook. And the police don't want that. You know, don't ring the police because you've seen someone on social media say something unless you think you've got concrete evidence. Don't bother ringing the police. But just to say, if you do have any evidence or knowledge of where Summer is, or you saw her, you've perhaps caught her on a cam trail because you've been out in the hiking and you might have seen the little girl, the police do want to hear from these sort of people. So they do want tips if they're genuine. They don't want tips of hearsay of what so-and-so and so-and-so are saying on the internet, which is completely fair enough. It's a waste of their time for time that could be spent on the investigation. So I do have a number here, and I think this is only a number that you can ring, the number that I'm actually going to give you within the USA. So if you're an American citizen and you do know anything, please call the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office on 423-272-7121. So that's the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office on 423-272-7121, or the TBI on 1-800, or it's 1-800-TBI-FIND. So I think that's a text message or a phone call there. So if you do know anything about Summer's tragic disappearance, please get in contact with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Office. Give them any information you have. It would be great if this little girl could be found alive, but if she has been murdered or abducted or has died or been killed by someone, let the little girl get the funeral that she deserves. And if it wasn't the family, let the family get some closure and some knowledge of what actually happened to Summer. Personally, I think the family do already have knowledge, and by that I only mean the parents, not the brothers, but the parents definitely know more than they're letting on at the moment. Anyway, I will now share with you this media footage of them that's gone viral on the internet.
A lot. I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma. And she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch. And I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer. I'll be back. And within 2 minutes, I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know. It seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her head
back and make
herself.
it. I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head to so she wouldn't feel bad, and but it didn't bother her at this point. Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house, in the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way. Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that, out of love, trying to get information and trying to get her found. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. Yeah, there's always going to be haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world. And we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. And that's the kind of people we try to relate with and socialize with. So we don't know anything about, no red truck, or we hardly know many of our neighbors. I mean, because we just try to be around good people. I mean, and we do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened. We got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
the most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have. We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around. Ever.
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so that I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl till my arm got tired. But I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just,
She also liked the song by a New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
she liked to think of herself as a princess, and you know, and all that, like all young girls do. And
She loved Frozen. She loved to be that Elsa and
I think she really loved to be in church because she felt a lot of love there. And I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, you know, when you're young. And she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church, or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, you know, and I hope she gets to be with our church family again.
her best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to
When
women that were.
she come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that was professional,
That was
that
pretty,
yeah,
beautiful.
she looked up to those kind of women. She, you know, they were the word I'm looking for. I can't think of it, but she looked up to them. She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money, and there was times, you know, we'd be, you know, at our boys like, don't do this and don't do that. Next thing you know, a stick would come up and just whop them, you know. And be like, Summer, don't do that.
Summer was the boss of the family.
She's
She,
typical girl.
when they get out of line, she'd put them in line.
She'd do her best.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go, she would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. You know, she loved to run. She just loved to run. And she could pull herself up on that swing, her full body weight with her two hands, and she could do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No,
No.
she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year.
She's in. We did all the what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already taken all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
Yeah. I just never expected for anyone to get hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands, and I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back.
Your little girl.
If there's any way you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow, I don't know how you might do that. I mean, you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and find a way of letting her go, and where we can get her back. And just please have mercy on her, and you know, and us, and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. But my biggest fear is, you know, her being tormented or locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. 'Cause a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? You know, go get Summer now." You know, and that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. And
She loved to be outside.
You know, and I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, you know, locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything, love nature, and That's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore, or that she could possibly, you know, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility. I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus on the positive,
And find her
because
daughter.
it's so easy to get, you know, lost in that negativity and stuff, and it's just not worth it. So I'm just, I appreciate y'all, the good things you say, and your prayers. That's awesome.
When my sister went missing,
They
I
won't
was
touch you.
in between Arkansas and Tennessee. I don't know all of what happened or what did happen, but I hope that they find her too and bring her home safely too.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing. I mean, she disappeared without a trace. They haven't found anything, haven't found a body, nothing. And you know, when you see cases like that, that's why I lose hope on Summer. You know, I want to keep hope, but sometimes I lose hope.
Lose it.
And I think, well, maybe we won't never see her again, you know. So I start thinking in past tense. Sorry. But I'm trying to keep hope up. I'm trying to keep my prayers up and all that.
Well, gosh, it's hard to know where to start after sharing that with you guys. I mean, Jesus, they say things in the past tense way too many times for my liking. Doesn't sit well with me at all. So, other things just to say, and I will do more of an in-depth analysis. This is just a few things off the cuff. They don't look shocked or upset. They don't really seem to have much of an urgent need to find Summer. They don't seem, you know, well, like I've done in my other videos, they're not going, if you've got my daughter, bring her home. Summer, where are you? If you've got Summer, don't hurt her, please. We'll beg, we'll plead, we'll steal, we'll beg, we'll borrow. We'll do anything to get Summer back. Summer, if you can hear us, we're going to get you. Mummy's coming for you. Daddy's coming for you. We're going to get that nasty bastard that's nicked you. We're not going to let this slide. We are looking for you, Summer. We're going to find you and we're going to bring you home. There's none of that urgency in their voice, is there? There's nothing. It almost seems like the mum is medicated, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. She may already be on some sort of medication, but perhaps due to the stress of the situation, she's on something like Valium. I've no idea, just guessing here, guys, but she does seem to be a bit medicated. The mother doesn't tend to use the daughter's name, which is distance in language, which doesn't sit well with me, whereas the dad does mention her by her name. So that's quite an interesting thing to watch, that one parent's going one way, one parent's going the other. Normally guilty knowledge parents, both of them, would both use distancing language. They both use the past tense, so that's not good. And as you all know, constantly using the past tense for someone that's only been missing a fortnight raises a major red flag. So that does not sit well with me at all. So going back to the TikTok video that they shared, they were brought up on the fact that they use the past tense. Now, they've had a lot of abuse on their social medias, which obviously isn't very nice. I think that they have guilty knowledge, but I'm not going to send them a direct message. There's no need to be that nasty. We all could be wrong. You know, maybe they just used past tense and didn't mean to, but generally that's not the case. So, you know, haters out there, don't contact them, don't message them directly. There's no need. You know, if the truth is that they killed their daughter or they have guilty knowledge, it's most likely, hopefully, that the truth will come out. I know it hasn't with Madeleine McCann, but hopefully the truth will come out. So like I said, they both speak of Summer in the past tense. They both apologise for using the past tense. Now, that's really fucking weird. If your kid's missing and you have no guilty knowledge, and even if you use the past tense by mistake, you wouldn't apologise to the general public for it. You'd think, fuck off, my kid's missing. I know I love my daughter. I know I want Summer to come home. I know I didn't hurt Summer. You really wouldn't feel the need to apologise to the public. So that doesn't sit well. I don't like that at all. Why would you do that? So we know what's happening. Another red flag for the parents there. Not sitting well with me, I'm afraid. They also at one point, and I'm going to go back through this in much more detail with what they're actually saying in the statement, but they badmouth her brothers at one point, basically saying that sometimes when Summer's out playing by herself, they'll say to the brothers, go and get Summer, and they don't do it quite quickly enough to their liking. That was what they were insinuating. So basically they started to badmouth the brothers, almost half blaming the brothers. This was the dad, by the way, not the mum, for not always getting Summer in from playing as quickly as they should do, almost sort of trying to put the blame at their door, which is really disturbing. So another thing, just off the cuff, the dad, like I said before, feels like he's already losing hope. After a fortnight, most people that have a missing child don't tend to lose hope after a fortnight. They'll cling on to that hope for years if they have to. They don't want to believe the person's dead. It's better to believe they're alive and they're somewhere, even if they've been abducted. Just to know they're alive is so much better than thinking that they're dead. So that's not good. Not only that, they badmouth Summer at one point. Basically, I think it's the dad again. So to be honest with you guys, the dad sits worse with me than the mother. Neither of them sit well with me, but the dad is more dodgy here in my opinion. And again, as always guys, it's just my opinion. But he says at one point that Summer, they say she's very boisterous and she can jump up and down and pull herself up on things the boys can't, that she's very strong for a 5-year-old little girl, which is really cute. But he also says that she's often hitting her brothers. I'm not sure if he says sticks. I've got to go back through it later in the video, but basically insinuating that Summer was very boisterous and she was often hitting her brothers. People that have a missing child don't tend to badmouth the missing child by saying that they hit their brothers. You'd say that they were always playing with their brothers and having fun. Why would you need to mention hitting their brothers? I know siblings hit each other. Me and my older brother used to exchange the occasional whack if we annoyed each other. Not often, but brothers and sisters, brothers and brothers, sisters and sisters, siblings fall out, siblings have rivalry, siblings are competitive. But considering she was only 5 years old, I find it weird that they needed to, and it shouldn't really matter what age she is, but I found it really weird that they needed to mention that she's hit her brothers over the head before. That don't sit well with me at all. And I'm sure you can guess what's coming, and that's for the dad. That's the red flag. That's just not good at all. Now, obviously no body has been found. The police have been searching for this poor little girl for a fortnight. Something else that's really weird, and I'm going to talk about this more towards the end of my video, but I just want to make you aware of it now, and it could just be a real big coincidence, is that the mother has got a missing sister. Now, the missing sister's never been found. This is the mother of Summer. So Summer's auntie went missing quite a lot of years ago. She's never been found. So this woman now has a missing daughter and a missing sister. Now, this all could be complete coincidence, but most people don't get affected by having a missing person in their life. I know it happens a lot, but most people that go missing are found within 24 hours, especially children. And a lot of adults that go missing do eventually come back. Not all, but a lot do. So every person that goes missing every day doesn't end up becoming a permanently missing person. A lot of them do come back. They've maybe had a bit of a breakdown, or something's wrong in their home environment that they need to get away from, abuse perhaps, all sorts of things, teenagers that can't get on with their parents. There's loads of reasons why people would run away from home at a young age or at an older age. But a 5-year-old girl, why would she run away from home? I don't know what went on with the sister. I've no idea. But I find it really, really weird that the mother has got a missing sister and now a missing daughter. And I'm going to be doing a lot more digging so that towards the end of my video, I can give you a lot more information on the missing sister. I'm going to try and find as much as I can, but really weird to have a missing sister and now a missing daughter. Really not good. So out of this media interview, which I think is about 10 minutes long, as I've shared with you, and I'm going to go back through the statement shortly, but there's one major red flag in amongst that statement that stinks and is not good. Now, I'm not going to say what it is because I'm going to tell you it later in the video, but it's an embedded confession from the mother. Now, that doesn't mean that the mother committed a murder, but what it does mean is that the mother knows how the daughter died. I'm sorry, guys, but that is my opinion as a statement analyst. I smell a rat. I smelt a rat the minute I saw the parents on the telly, and I thought, whoa, too much past tense going on there, guys. No urgency to find your daughter. No empathy for what situation she's in. Okay, they do sort of say that, she could have been being abducted and whatnot, but the mum doesn't seem to dwell on how the daughter's feeling. The dad does more. So really weird, because with people like Kate and Jerry McCann, they were very synchronized. They'd obviously planned what they were going to say in their media interviews, and they didn't really deviate from each other's opinions. Whereas these two, the dad seems more guilty than the mum. Sorry, again, guys, just my opinion, but there's something not right about the pair of them. I wonder, could the dad have killed the little girl and the mum's going along with covering it up? Could it just be that there was a tragic accident and they're both covering up and they're both doing a bad job of it? I'm not sure. Something's really, really, really wrong in this case, and I dread to think what's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to turn out well. And I'm going to start to go through my analysis of the statements in the next part of my video, along with a body language analysis of the parents. And I'll detail to you where I think that embedded confession is, and it was given by the mother. So the interview with the parents, and I do believe that it is a stepdad. I don't think he's the biological dad, so I just wanted to put that out there. So with the stepdad and the mother starts off by saying she doesn't feel the little girl could have wandered off by herself, that someone's lured her away, and that she couldn't have just sort of walked off and you know, someone's definitely took her, is what the mother is insinuating. So basically starting off by saying there's no other explanation, she couldn't have just wandered off and that someone must have took her. But like I said, that doesn't sit well with me. Surely if an intruder had broken into the house, the brothers would have heard them. You know, the little girl would have screamed. So none of this is adding up from the get-go. The first thing that she says, none of it's making sense. None of it adds up.
A lot. I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing.
So then the mother says that her mother, as in the grandmother, and her, as in the daughter Summer, were out in the garden planting flowers. And it's me and my mother and her. Now note, her is over here, the mother's over here. So there's a huge, big gap between the mother and the daughter. You wouldn't normally expect that. That's sort of distance in language within the sentence. Summer's as far away from the mother as possible, and note that she doesn't call her Summer. She doesn't say Summer, myself and my mum, or Summer, my mum and me, which is probably what you might expect. Put Summer at the first. She's your priority, she's your daughter, she's your number one. But no, it's me, my mother and her. So not good. Using the pronoun her and not using the little girl's name Summer is not great, and I'm sorry, I think you can probably tell what that means, guys. That's a red flag for Summer's mum. I'm sorry, but that's really not a good way to start off this media interview. Red flags are flying immediately for the mother.
I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her and has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers.
So immediately after that statement about them being in the garden planting the flowers, she says that they all go in to wash their hands, which is completely not necessary. No one needs to know that they wash their hands. It's quite obvious if you're doing the garden and you're not got gardening gloves on, and even if you have got gardening gloves on, you should probably wash your hands afterwards. That's really not good. I've got to be honest, guys, there's going to be quite a few of them in today's video. That's another red flag. Now, that could be a sign of guilt. That could be wanting to wash away the guilt from your hands. There's no need to include it in your statement, so it's a red flag. It's really not good. And she also says that she got candy, the little girl Summer got candy from the grandmother. Again, there's no need to say any of this. It's storytelling. It's taking your time to get to the main point so that you can think through what you're saying. Perhaps, just in my opinion, think through your lies that are about to come flying out your mouth. And it's just not good at all.
Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma.
Now, what the mother could have said in a quite sweet and short sentence was, Summer, myself and my mother were planting flowers when she went missing. Or we'd all been in the garden doing the gardening and Summer went missing. Not all this big lead up, we had to wash our hands and Summer's over here. I'm not even going to call her Summer, I'm going to call her her. The pronoun her is what I'm going to use. So not good. Distancing language, storytelling. We didn't need to know about the candy. We didn't need to know about the hand washing. And both of those things raise really big red flags for me. So far, we've only just started the interview and red flags flying all the time. I'm not hearing anything that sounds like the truth. I'm hearing a lot of deception. Distancing language from your own daughter when she's a missing child and she's only 5 years old is really, really not good. So something I just want to caveat now, guys, is I don't know that the mum's guilty, but there is guilty knowledge in her statement, 100%. As a statement analyst, as soon as I saw her on the telly and heard this interview, I knew she was guilty of something, but we don't know the source of her guilt from her statement. Just want to point that out. She may be aware that some harm came to Summer, but she may not have caused it. None of us know at this point, but the mum definitely knows what happened to the little girl. As you will be aware, if you've now sat and watched what I've just shared, the interview that they gave, they constantly, both the stepdad and the mother, refer to Summer in a past tense. They both seem to have accepted that she's dead. The mother seems to be accepting that she's not coming back. There seems to be no urgency to find her, so red flags are flying everywhere for these parents. This is not a good case at all. So the mum then says that the little girl Summer wanted to go back inside, see her brothers, maybe play with some toys. So she says she watched her walk over, and that she basically watched her completely walk into the house. Now, all right, I know she was only 5, but that's unlikely. Most people from a fortnight ago, although I'm not sure when this media interview was given, but I do think it was in the last couple of days, so it was only 2 weeks since Summer's gone missing, you would think you'd remember these things, but I don't know whether you'd remember watching her directly walk right into the house and whether you would do that anyway. Unless your house was quite far away from where you were doing the gardening, that doesn't make sense either. This is really not looking good.
And she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay. And I walked her all the way over to the porch. And I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV.
So the mother then claims that she told the boys, her Summer's brothers, to look after her, and says that 2 minutes passed and she goes back to the house, and this is where I think the alarm is raised that Summer's missing. Now, this part doesn't sit well with me. How can an abduction be carried out in 2 minutes? 2 minutes, unless the abductor was hiding in the basement where Summer went down to play with her toys. None of it adds up. How could they flee the property so quickly with Summer? Wouldn't she be kicking and screaming? Now, all right, she could have been gagged, but the brothers would have heard something. A 5-year-old girl would scream if an intruder or an abductor was trying to take her away from a family home. This just doesn't add up. I'm wondering if anyone was doing any gardening at all and had something happen prior to the day that she apparently goes missing. Just not sure here, guys, but this story doesn't add up at all.
And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom.
So just to say, before the alarm is raised, she says to the boys, her sons, Summer's brothers, where's Summer? And they say, oh, she went down to the playroom to play with her toys. And apparently the mum then shouts, Summer, where are you? Summer doesn't reply. Apparently Summer always would call back to her mum when her mum called for her. So I think she must then go down to the basement and apparently realises Summer is gone. Now, I believe that the family then look for her for a number of hours or a short period of time before the alarm is raised to the police. The stepdad makes the phone call to the police, which we have not heard yet. We haven't had it released here in the UK. As soon as I can get my hands on that call, I will be analysing it and sharing it in another video with you guys. But if any of you American viewers out there can get your mitts on that, it's a 911, sorry, not a 999 call, but the 911 call, please send me a link for it, because I've tried to find it today and quite a lot of the websites that belong to America that I'm trying to get on don't seem to want to let me on them, maybe because I'm in the UK and this is obviously still a fresh case with an ongoing investigation. But if anyone knows where the audio is for that 911 call, please send me a link, because I'd be really grateful and I would really like to hear it and analyse it.
And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay.
So the mum then says that she calls for a couple of more times. She doesn't come or call back to her mum. She goes down to look for her in the basement where she was playing with the toys, Summer, and she's just gone. It's not making sense. She follows that up by saying that she doesn't go on walks in the local area where she lives, because where they live in Tennessee, there are bears, there are coyotes, there are snakes. I imagine perhaps big spiders. Ooh. So there are things out in the wild that are quite scary. I wouldn't really want to go for a walk if I thought I was going to be greeted by a big bear. So I understand why she may not go for a walk. So I'm not sure why she's telling us that. Is it because she didn't go to look for her daughter because she was scared of bears, or is it that she's trying to say that she wasn't someone that went for walks with her children, so surely Summer wouldn't have gone off walking by herself? Not sure what she's trying to imply here by telling us that, but seems pointless to tell us that she doesn't go for walks if she's not going to say why.
And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here.
Now, since filming my video, I've been researching this case as much as I can in any spare time that I've got. And I have read, although, again, guys, just my opinion, although what I mean by that is this is something that I've read that could be hearsay, so don't take my word on this. It's just my opinion from something I've read. But apparently Candus had gone for a walk that day, and perhaps she wasn't at home when the little girl goes missing. It is just hearsay, gossip on the internet, so it could be completely made up and wrong. But apparently Candus may have gone for a walk that day, and now I've heard this information, the fact that I'd already thought it was very strange that she just started talking about how she doesn't go for walks because there's coyotes and bears and snakes in the local area, it's all adding up now. There was no need to mention going for a walk, but if she had actually gone for a walk when her daughter went missing, perhaps that's why she felt the need to mention not going for a walk, because she wanted to put out there that she doesn't ever go walking in her local area due to the big bears and scary snakes and coyotes, when really she had gone for a walk. This completely makes sense where deception is involved with someone in a statement like this, because she offered up the information without being asked, which already stunk and was fishy to me. Now I know there's a possibility she had gone for a walk potentially while her daughter goes missing. This is potentially why she felt the need to talk about going for walks when she wasn't asked it whatsoever by the interviewer. Again, guys, as always, just a caveat, this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. This is just something I've read on the internet, and obviously the source, the place that I've read this information could have it completely wrong, and perhaps Candus didn't go for a walk at all. So the mother then says that she prays whoever's got her daughter hasn't hurt her, and that she returns the daughter to them safe and sound.
Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
So next you see the stepdad speaking for the first time, and he sort of says that he hopes the FBI and the police are going to sort this out and clear it up. To use the term clear it up, that doesn't sound good. Clear what up? The mystery of your missing stepdaughter? Clear up your mess? Not a good term to use. Don't like that. Doesn't sit well with me. And the fact that he doesn't say, you know, where's Summer? Have you got Summer? If you've abducted my stepdaughter, I'm going to come for you. I'm going to get you. Or just something like, do you want money? We'll find money from somewhere. Do you want money to give us our daughter back? Please. Please give us Summer back. There's no urgency from either of them. What's really weird as I go throughout and analysing their statements here is the mother hardly ever refers to Summer by her name. But the stepdad does call her by the name Summer. Now that's weird. You'd expect both of the parents to use distancing language if they had guilty knowledge. So I'm wondering here, has one parent got guilty knowledge and not the other one? That doesn't add up though, because if they're going to sit and do these media statements and they either killed Summer or there was an accident that was covered up and they are both aware of it, the fact that one of them uses her name and the one doesn't is very confusing to me as a statement analyst. So I'm wondering here if one of them has covered it up and not told the other one. But again, that's highly unlikely. I just don't know what to think here. I'm still quite confused about what I think's gone on, but personally, I think Summer may have been murdered, or there's been an accident that's been covered up, or perhaps she ran away from the family home because of neglect and the fact they weren't watching her, and they've tried to make it look like an abduction. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I know for definite that both of those parents have 100% got guilty knowledge of what's happened to Summer Wells.
Go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up.
So then both of the parents go on to talk about a red Toyota truck that was apparently seen in the area, and the mum says, it's really strange, you know, I've never seen it before. But the way she says it is very blasé, not very bothered. You know, you'd think she would say, hello, everyone. Well, not hello, everyone. You'd think she would say, everybody out there, have you seen this Toyota truck? It's a red truck. This is the registration, if they obviously had that information. You know, you'd think both of them would want this picture of this truck or any CCTV footage of it caught on camera to be out there so people could be looking for the truck. Perhaps the little girl was abducted and took away in the truck. None of that is mentioned. It's almost as if they're like a bit, oh, well, we knew nothing about this truck, and what's this about the truck? Which is really weird. Also, if you were trying to cover up your daughter's death, whether it's by murder or accident, you'd want to cling on to this truck, because then the guilt and the blame could be passed to whoever's in the driver or the owner of the truck. But there's none of that, so their behaviour is really, really quite weird. quite fascinating to watch, but also quite intriguing, because you then wonder, what on earth's going on here? What do you know?
Oh, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently.
So the mum then says she can't understand why people aren't coming forward, and that even if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. Now, how would you know you were a suspect unless you'd carried out the crime, if there is a crime that's been carried out here? That's an odd thing to say. Um, I don't think anyone that was a normal parent of a missing child would say that. It was like, it would be anyone out there that's got any information on my missing daughter Summer, please call the police, call the authorities, please. Even if you have to do it anonymously. I need my daughter back. I need to know where she is. I need to know that she's safe. I'm going out of my mind with worry for my daughter Summer. There's none of that. There's no mentioning of the name. There's no urgency. There's no real empathy for Summer and what she's going through, which is a huge, huge red flag. This is just not a good case at all. You know, I'm starting to think of Madeleine McCann here. This little girl is only 5 years old. I know Madeleine was 3, coming up 4, but where is she? Where is Summer Wells?
But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen.
So then the parents move on to talk about Summer's hair, which had recently been shaved. Now the mum says, well, I shaved my head and Summer wanted to look like me, be like me. The brothers had shaved heads. And then the stepdad goes on to say that Summer attempted to shave her own hair. Now, considering she was 5 years old, I don't know whether they mean with just a normal razor that you'd use in the bath to shave your legs or your armpits or whatever. Do they mean an electric shaver, like a man would use to do his hair? If so, a 5-year-old shouldn't have been around something like that. And either way, whether it was an electronic razor shaver or just a normal razor, one that isn't electronic, surely a 5-year-old girl should never be shaving her own head. That's neglect, in my opinion. She could have cut herself. That's really weird. I find it quite weird that a 5-year-old girl would have a shaved head anyway. Obviously, everybody's different in the world and not everyone wants to have long hair. It's a pain in the arse trying to style it. Maybe I should get a skinhead. But I find it weird that they wanted to bring up her hair. I think her hair has been mentioned in the media and on people's comments on social media. Why did she have a shaved head? Perhaps they just want to answer that question, but it's got nothing to do with Summer going missing. Summer's hair, lack of hair, has got nothing, zero to do with her going missing. Why the hell are they bringing it up? Again, it's just to distract from perhaps the fact they know what's gone on and they just want to chat a load of old shit to get through this media interview without slipping up or letting out what they really know.
She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head
and make
herself.
it. I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it go back long, and she shaved her head to so she wouldn't feel bad, and but it didn't bother her at this point.
They talk a little bit further about Summer's hair, or lack of it, and then the stepdad goes on to say that he knew right away that Summer had been abducted. Now, that is stinky, fishy, dodgy. No one knows right away that someone's been abducted unless they've witnessed it or they've got a record on a CCTV camera of it. That just doesn't add up. So I think we know what's coming. It's a red flag for the stepdad there. That's odd. You wouldn't know right away the kid's been abducted. This stinks of the McCanns. They couldn't have known that Madeleine had been abducted right away. I don't think she ever was, but that's just my opinion, guys, as always. I could be wrong. But you wouldn't know straight away a 5-year-old girl had been abducted. She was only gone for 2 minutes, according to the mum, from the time she walks in the house, goes down to play with her toys, to the time she's disappeared. So none of this adds up. There's no time frame for an abductor to get in that house, get her out, not in 2 minutes. Now, maybe there is, if they'd gagged her or put their hand over her mouth quick enough and they could have escaped out of a door where the parents and the mum and the grandma doing the gardening couldn't see. But again, none of this adds up. Without being able to see a plan of their house, how big their garden was, where their neighbours were, where a road would have been, where cars would have been going past, where children might have been playing, neighbours' children, without knowing any of this or any background of the area that they live in. I can't be certain on the intruder theory, but it just doesn't add up. Most children can't be abducted in 2 minutes when the whole family, from what I can gather, were at home. And it would seem that it wasn't late at night. I think it might have been early evening that this happens. None of this is adding up, and the lack of urgency with the parents and the fact that I will keep going through this, they continually refer to her in the past tense, is shocking. Kate and Jerry McCann would often refer to Madeline in the past tense, but they'd often realise and correct themselves. And in a media interview, they might only do it once or twice, especially in the early days after Madeline went missing. But they soon corrected themselves over the years and got quite the act up so that they didn't slip up. But these two people are just constantly talking about the little girl in the past tense, like they've already processed her death, and that is really, really disturbing.
Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But
So the next part is the stepdad talking about the police and their investigation and how he feels sorry for them, all the man hours that they've spent searching for her. Now, that could be because it's so tiring, it's rough terrain, they can only look for a few hours because it's very high up and it's very tiring, there's lots of water, weird areas to walk around, it's quite dangerous, the terrain around where they live in Tennessee. Obviously, like the woman said, the mum, there are bears and coyotes and snakes, so it can't be a great thing to be searching the area. It's not, like England, we don't have snakes and coyotes and bears, so I can't imagine what that must be like for the searchers. But the fact that the stepdad says he's sorry, wouldn't you say you're grateful? Why would you, the stepdad of a missing 5-year-old girl, be sorry that the police are having to search? Now, to me, I think you all know what's coming, guys. That's a big fat red flag. He's sorry because perhaps he knows what happened to Summer. Perhaps he caused her disappearance. Perhaps he knows why she's disappeared. Perhaps he knows where she is, whether dead or alive. Is that why he's sorry? Again, just my opinion, guys, but that is a really, really big red flag, and that's not good at all.
I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, and I feel for them. But
so the stepdad then goes on to say that he wishes there was a way that neighbours could search each other's houses, all the neighbours searching each other's houses, and if any particular neighbours say no to the police searching their home, a search warrant should be granted, which I imagine would be anyway, maybe, although I'm not American, so I'm not fully au fait with your laws in America. If you are watching and you're American, perhaps you could update me, but I'm presuming unless they think for definite that someone's involved, they can't just get a search warrant for the house. But that seems weird that he even needs to mention the neighbours' houses being searched. Now, all right, the little girl could have run away and hidden in someone's house, but 2 weeks have passed. She wouldn't hide for 2 weeks unless a neighbour has abducted her, but I find it highly unlikely that a neighbour would abduct a child. Most cases of child abduction, the child is often taken, not always, but often, far away from where they were abducted from, so that the person that abducts them can't ever be caught. They're not going to live 2 doors down. All right, I'm sure it might have happened, but that's very rare, and that's weird that they feel the need to even mention the neighbours' houses.
I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house, in the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way.
So the stepdad says that there's no way you can search everyone's house. You can't search everybody in the state, the local area that they live, or the bigger area around where they live, and that he wishes there was. But what I find weird is he's pushing the neighbours' houses here. What about searching other places? I mean, I know the police were. Why aren't you still searching? I would have thought anyone would. I don't know that they're not, but I get the impression they're no longer searching for Summer and that they've left it down to the police. But most parents of missing children want to go out searching as well. Even if the police say no, the terrain's too rough, you'd search where isn't too rough, where you are able to search without getting worn out quickly, where isn't unsafe to search. You'd be begging. You'd be putting posters up on lampposts. You'd be going around businesses. You'd be knocking on all your neighbours' doors yourself. Have you seen my daughter? Have you seen Summer? My daughter Summer is missing. There's none of that. Again, no urgency to find her. And as we go through the rest of this statement, it just gets more and more shocking and more bizarre. So then both of the mother and the stepfather go on to thank the general public for putting Summer in their hearts and their prayers, helping with the search, giving any information to the police, and they clearly want to say how grateful they are. So that's good to see. That is really good to see. But body language, and I'm going to assess that after I've done the statement analysis, but the body language there from the mother doesn't really tie up with her being thankful. Really weird. These two really are a strange couple.
Just thankful for the person or persons that's doing that, out of love, trying to get information and trying to get her found. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And
the stepdad then goes on to say what an amazing little girl Summer was, but that, all the haters, and I'm presuming that's the people on social media that are doubting their stories, like myself, not that I'm commenting at them because I wouldn't do that. There's no need to send them nasty private messages. If they are guilty, they're going to get caught by the police. It's not our job, the public, to be getting involved here. We can give our views as I am, but why people are messaging them nasty messages, I don't know. People really ought to stop doing that. There's no need. And we could all be wrong. We really could. I don't think I am, but I could be. So the stepdad, continues on by sort of saying about the haters and that you're always going to get haters in the world. What I find weird is they find the need to address the haters. If your daughter's missing, you just want to address that. You'd want to address Summer. How's Summer? How is she feeling? How is she doing? Is she being cared for? Has she been fed? Has she had a drink? Is she hungry? Is she thirsty? Is she tired? Has she got clean clothes? As a mother, you'd be worried, and a stepdad, what's going on with Summer? Is she being cared for? Is she being hurt? You tried to put out of your mind if she was being hurt, but you'd be more worried about how she was and what her state of welfare was. Was she being cared for properly? Which, if abducted, most likely not. But this is just all not adding up. Really weird here, these parents. I've not really come across another set of parents that give me red flags as much as these two since the McCanns, and that was a long time ago.
she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back. Yeah, there's always going to be haters, and it's always going to be that way in this world.
So the stepdad then goes on to say, they're really grateful to all the people that have helped and that have been looking, and they're very grateful, like I said. But then he goes on to say that they don't really know many of their neighbours and that they only tend to surround themselves with good people. Now, what does that mean? That your neighbours aren't good people? But then he continues on to say that they've now got to know some of their neighbours and some of them are good people. So I get the impression from that there's clearly someone within their neighbours that they don't get on with. Just my opinion, guys. Because by saying that you don't really know the neighbours and that you surround yourself with good people, immediately after that statement is basically saying that the neighbours aren't good people. But then you go on to say that you have found that some of them are. So unless your neighbours have generally been quite rude or you don't get on with them, perhaps that some of the neighbours think they're involved. I'm not sure what that's all about, but there's something a bit sniffy-whiffy going on with the neighbours, in my opinion.
And we just want to focus on the good friends and Christian people that are trying to help us and praying for us and praying for Summer. And we thank them from the bottom of our hearts, and that's the kind of people we try to relate with.
So the next thing the mother says is that the most important thing here is to bring Summer home safe. Now, she does use the daughter's name there, which is good. It's good to hear. But the majority of this interview with the media, she doesn't refer to her by a name, often by the pronoun her, which isn't good when it's your daughter that's missing. You should take ownership of your daughter. You should call her by a name throughout. You may say she or her a couple of times, but we should be hearing Summer the majority of the time. When we don't, that's quite weird. When she says that, she doesn't seem to want to make eye contact with the person interviewing her. She's looking down at the floor more, which often indicates guilt. You don't want to look at the person that you're lying to. All just not sitting well with me. She then continues on after that to address the haters and all the people on the internet that have not been very nice. And again, so we've had both the mother and the stepdad separately within the interview address the haters. If you had a missing child, I appreciate it would be horrific, especially if you're not involved in a disappearance, to have trolls and idiots on the internet sending you nasty messages, and even people like me having opinions on you when I don't even know you. But I do think they're guilty, sorry to say, but I'm not going to send them a private message telling them that I think they're guilty. I'm just going to put my video out there and hopefully discuss it with you guys, and we'll see what we think, because I could be wrong as always. But something's not right with these parents. You wouldn't address the haters, in my mind. If you're a normal person that hasn't got issues and hasn't got guilty knowledge, you wouldn't need to address the haters. You'd put the haters to one side and you think you're twats, fuck off, you don't know me, you don't know my life, you don't know that I've got nothing to do with my daughter's disappearance. And if you were going to address the haters, not sort of say they actually apologise to the haters. I'm sorry that you think that about me. Well, I wouldn't be sorry if someone thought that about me and my daughter was missing and I had nothing to do with it. I wouldn't be sorry at all. I think they were dicks and I'd be telling them to fuck off after my daughter was found and I had some spare time because I'd be so busy looking for my missing daughter. Duh. But that is not good. To be apologising to the haters, to be addressing the haters when you've got a missing 5-year-old child, it's all irrelevant. Let the haters hate. Fuck the haters. Look for your daughter. The fact that you feel the need to apologise to the haters is really bloody weird. And like I said not long ago, the fact that the stepdad apologises to the police that they've had to search, you've got nothing to be sorry for if you didn't have nothing to do with the girl's disappearance, have you? Why are you apologising? People that often say sorry, just to put this out there now while I'm thinking about it, during an interview like this with a missing child, that, as I'm sure you can guess, guys, is quite the big red flag. To keep saying sorry to haters who you've got nothing to be sorry for if you have no guilty knowledge, why would you be sorry? Why would you be sorry for the police for having to search for a little 5-year-old girl that's your stepdaughter? None of this adds up. There's no need to apologise. There's no need to be sorry. This really stinks.
We hardly know many of our neighbors. I mean, because we just try to be around good people. I mean, and we do have good people in this area. We found out since this has all happened. We got some real good neighbors and good folks everywhere. But
The most important thing is to bring Summer home safe. I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have.
So the mum continues talking about the daughter, and she then goes on to say something quite shocking, that no one would ever treat her daughter like that as long as she was around, ever. Like what? You don't know how your daughter's being treated if she's been abducted, do you? You don't even know she has been abducted. How do you know how she's being treated? That, again, I might stop doing it, or I'm going to be doing it the whole video. That raises another major red flag. It's almost as if she knows someone's hurt her daughter and she wasn't there to protect her, and if she had been, it never would have happened. That's starting to lead me to believe, could the stepdad have hurt the daughter and killed her, or one of the brothers maybe? I hope not, but it could be, but I doubt it. But could one of the family members, whether it's the stepdad or the brothers, have hurt the little girl? She's then dead and it's nothing to do with the mother. This is entirely possible here, but from that, I get the impression the mother knows that the daughter's come to harm and that she wasn't able to save her. She obviously feels terrible about it, and that's really not good. Not good at all.
I'm sorry that you feel this way about us, but we love our children with everything we have. We've never went without, thanks to Summer's daddy and my husband. He's always provided for us and has worked as much as he could and can and still is. And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around.
So the stepdad then goes on to say that she loved to dance and that she would always want her daddy and that she would always be calling him. So past tense, loved, not good at all. And why does he need to say how much she loved her daddy? It's almost as if he has to get across what a great parent he was and how much she loved him, and that he can't have possibly had anything to do with her disappearance. People without guilty knowledge that are parents of missing children don't feel the need to tell the media or the world what a great parent they were. They know what a great parent they were. They just want to find their bloody daughter. This is weird. You don't need to say how much she loved you and how much she always looked forward to seeing you. It stinks.
she loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl till my arm got tired.
So he then carries on about her dancing and says that she'd like to twirl, and she used to love to twirl and twirl and twirl until his arm would hurt. I get the impression that she'd twirl and maybe jump on his arm. I'm not really sure what he means by that, but again, past tense. She used to love to, not she loves to dance. She twirls all the time. She's always twirling. No, 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 no. Past tense. Constant theme of past tense throughout this interview. I'm really worried about what's happened to Summer now. Really, really worried.
She loves to dance. She would always want me. She says, "Daddy, hold my hand so I can twirl." And she would just like to twirl and twirl and twirl until my arm got tired. But
so he then goes on to say that one of Summer's favourite songs was Godzilla. Now, past tense, clearly. I think we know what's coming. Red flag. I may not do a red flag for every past tense, or all you're going to see throughout this video are red flags, but red flags are constantly flying for the parents here, in my opinion. We don't need to know what music Summer likes. We just want to find where the 5-year-old girl is. We don't care if she likes Frozen or what her favourite song was. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. The general public aren't going to find Summer by knowing what her favourite song is. It's really weird. And not only that, the fact they feel the need to mention what favourite songs the little girl had, what she used to have. They've said it, her favourite song was, not is. Why is that? Because I think they've got guilty knowledge and they've already processed her death. I'm sorry, but that's what I think.
And I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
She also liked the song by New Breed. It was called House, My House. She sung that a lot of times when I play it on the TV. She loved to dance.
So the stepdad then realises he's used the past tense, and he says, "Oh yeah, everyone's been jumping all on me for using the past tense. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." So presumably people on TikTok and I think Facebook, from what I can gather from what I've read in the press today, have been hassling this couple, which is not nice. There's no need to. Whether I think they're guilty or not, I'm not going to send them a private message. Please don't do that, people. There's no need. But people have been sending them private messages saying, or personal attacks saying that you're using the past tense all the time, and it's odd, and it is odd. It's really odd. It's really disturbing, but don't contact them. This is an ongoing investigation. If they are guilty, let's hope the police in Tennessee are going to bust them and they'll go down for any involvement in this little girl's disappearance and potential murder. But what's not right here is the fact that they need to apologise to the haters, tell everyone how sorry they are, the haters, how sorry they are, and then use the past tense again, bearing in mind they'd put a post out on TikTok, or the mother had, talking about the daughter in the past tense, and this is where this past tense reference starts on social media by the mother, putting out a post she shouldn't have ever put out, and people brought her up on it. So this is where all the abuse online has started, by trolls and people, I suppose. So she didn't really help herself. So then they give this media interview, a 10 or 12 minute media interview, where they constantly use the past tense, even though they've been brought up on that by the public. And then they realise halfway through the interview, oh shit, we've been using the past tense. Oh, sorry everyone, I know you've brought me up on using the past tense and I didn't mean to. Whoops. Whoopsie. What the fuck? I mean, guys, I'm going to want your comments below on this case, because this case is fascinating. I just hope and pray, fingers crossed here, that Summer's found alive. But these parents are bizarre. I appreciate, there may be, the mum's not all there. She seems like she might be medicated. She may be on some sort of medication prior to Summer going missing, so that may be why she seems not all there. The stepdad seems to be a bit more functioning upstairs, shall we say. Doesn't look like he's on drugs, but there's something not right about this. Put the drugs to one side. There are claims in the American press today that there is domestic abuse within the house. The stepdad has been in prison before for something abuse-wise. I'm not sure what. Apparently his rap sheet is quite long, so I haven't had the time to research all of his misdemeanors, shall we say. So other than that, there is meant to have been drug use in the house, but again, I don't know what drugs, guys. But clearly the children were being neglected if drug use was going on, and if the dad was abusive, especially physically abusive or even emotionally abusive. That's not good for these children. I'm now beginning to wonder whether the 3 elder brothers will be taken away and put into care. I hope not, but if the parents aren't doing a good enough job of looking after them, maybe they ought to be.
And I put out there that one of Summer's favorite songs was Godzilla, and they say, and they're jumping all over me about past tense was, well, I'm sorry about that. It's just.
So both the parents, especially the stepdad, then go on to talk about the church. They're obviously religious and a member of a local church, and they talk about how Summer loved to go to the church. There was a particular woman there that they name and say how much you always look forward to seeing her. Now, fair enough, if you're religious, you have faith, your daughter's missing, you might mention the church, but there was no need to mention that she loves going to the church, unless you think she might have hidden in the church, but I imagine that's already been searched. Why would you feel the need to mention the woman's name who she was most friendly with at the church? And then he goes on to say that she liked good looking women and successful women and that she looked up to them. Well, she was only 5. That's a weird thing to say. Now, all right, she might have preferred the company of women at the age of 5, but I just don't get that. They didn't need to mention the church. It's more storytelling, taken away from talking about the disappearance of the daughter and just trying to talk about her life, the church, the songs that she likes, the little twirls that she did or used to do, not anymore. This is all not adding up for me. As a statement analyst, the statements they've given are very bizarre, they're very deceptive. They clearly both know what's happened to Summer, and I just hope and pray that the police figure out what's gone on here soon.
I think she really loved to be in church because she felt a lot of love there, and I think you can't explain what that love is, but you feel it and you know it, when you're young. And she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church, or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that. I hope she gets to come home, and I hope she gets to be with her church family again.
Her best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were.
She come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
Any woman that was professional, that
was pretty.
Yeah,
beautiful.
she looked up to those kind of women. They were the word I'm looking for. I can't think of it, but she looked up to them.
So towards the end of that particular part of the statement by the stepdad, he says, she loved everybody in that church. Past tense. He then realises it immediately. So within a few seconds, the stepdad realises he's just used past tense again. I've lost count how many times now. Maybe I'll add it up and share it at the end of the video how many times. Oh goodness, I'll be here all day trying to count it up. But he then realises he's done that and goes, oh, she loves everybody at the church. Not loved, loves. So he has to correct himself. It's really weird. They've obviously processed her death, but I think they know she's gone, and this is really disturbing me.
It is, but you feel it and you know it, when you're young. And she felt that there, and she loved everybody in that church, or she loves everybody in that church. I should rephrase that because they'll tear that apart as past tense, and I apologize again for that.
So not only does he correct himself, the stepdad, to start to use present tense and not past tense, he then says he'll be brought up on that and, oops. And it's like, wow. And then the mum then goes on to say that there was a woman or someone that the little girl Summer was best friends with at the church. And she again uses the past tense, doesn't say who her best friend is, who her best friend was. This is really bad. Really bad.
Her best friend in that church was Robin. She loved her to death.
Yeah, she looked up to women that were.
She come to that church, she went looking for Robin. That was her favorite person.
So after they finish talking about the church, the stepdad then says that often the brothers would be there, and suddenly, he doesn't say the name Summer, but he means Summer would come up to them and whack them with a stick. Not good. Not good at all, guys. I think you might know what's coming here. That's a huge red flag for the father. People with missing children don't badmouth the children. Even if brothers and sisters don't get on, they don't tend to mention the little girl that's missing or the child that's missing hitting a sibling with a stick. It's badmouthing. There's no need. Kids, fight. I used to fight with my older brother when we were kids. It's natural. it wasn't really fighting, it was just bickering occasionally, and, you know, no, you can't play with my toy, not hitting each other over the head. That didn't happen. So that is worrying if she did used to hit her brothers over the head. But she had 3 older brothers. Maybe they used to hit her over the head. But why does the stepdad need to mention hitting over the head? It's got nothing to do with Summer being missing. Doesn't help find Summer. And it just raises more red flags to me that he felt the need to badmouth the little girl and say that she likes to hit her brothers over the heads with sticks. Not good. Another red flag.
She'd give them a run for their money every day. She'd give them a run for their money. And there was times, you know, we'd be, you know, our boys like, don't do this, don't do that. Next thing you know, a stick would come up and just whop them, you know. Like, Summer, don't do that.
So the stepdad then follows that up by saying that they would say, Summer, don't do that, when she'd hit her brothers over the head with sticks. And then the mum says, Summer was the head of the family, or the boss of the family, she means. So was. Summer was the head of the family. She isn't the head of the family anymore. Why is that? Because she's dead? This is not good, guys. This past tense. I don't think I've ever caught an interview of a missing child or regarding a missing child where the parents are spoken to by the media, where they continually use past tense and then correct themselves when they finally realise a couple of times and go, oh, sorry, I mean is, not was. This is just really bad. And the more I watch this interview, and I've watched it a fair few times today to analyse these guys, the more I realise this is not good. This is really bad.
Summer was the boss of the family. She
Typical girl.
They get out of line, she'd put them in line.
She'd do her best.
So the mum then goes on to say that if the brothers got out of line, Summer would put them in line. So, okay. And then she then says that she loved to play in the mud. Again, past tense. Not Summer loves to play in the mud. Summer loves sorting her brothers out when they're naughty. Summer loved to play in the mud. So more past tense and hardly any present tense. Almost as if there is no present for her daughter, for Summer, and she knows it.
She loved to play in the mud and the water and swing on her swing and enjoy dirt.
So more past tense coming up here, guys. The stepdad then says that when he'd run his lawnmower around, Summer would come up and run behind him. Not Summer does run up behind me. Summer regularly runs up behind me when I run the lawnmower around the grass. Not would. Again, sounds like past tense to me. Just not good. The constant sidetracking. We don't need to know that she runs after the lawnmower or used to. We don't need to know that she used to love to spin and dance. We don't need to know that she used to love going to the church. It is good to get some idea of a missing child's likes and interests, but at age 5, we just need to know where Summer is. We need to find Summer. There's none of that from them. No urgency. No nothing other than tripping over themselves with their lies.
When I run the lawnmower around, she would run behind me. When the boys run their bikes around, she, as fast as that little bike could go.
So then the stepdad then goes on to talk about Summer on her bike, and that she'd keep up with her brothers on her little bike, following behind them, and that she loved to run. Now, when he says that, his eyes widen, almost as if he's thought, fuck, I've just dropped myself in it again. For probably the 100th time in this interview, Summer loved to run. Not Summer loves running. This is really, really, really quite disturbing now. They constantly refer to her in the past tense. They know she's dead. They've processed the guilty knowledge. It's only took 2 weeks to process the death. That's odd. I mean, if she died via an accident, I would imagine any normal parent that had love for that child would still be in shock. The fact there's no shock, there's no fight or flight, there's no urgency, there's no upset, they're not distraught by her disappearance. This is just not good. I'm starting to wonder if she was murdered now. I just don't know what to think here, guys. Put your comments below, as always. I want to know what you think. But the more I go through this, the rest of the video, don't be surprised if I look confused and perplexed, because this case is really doing my head in. I'm not sure what to think of these guys, other than they're really guilty of something bad. Very bad.
She would be behind them running and keeping up with them, no problem. You know, she loved to run. She just loved to run.
So the stepdad continues talking about Summer and things she likes to do, and that she could pull herself up on the swing, and that she was stronger than the brothers. And really, to me, that seems weird that he needs to mention that she was stronger than the brothers. Bear in mind, she's only 5 years old, and some of the brothers are quite a few years older. She wouldn't be stronger. That doesn't make sense. That's weird. Why does he need to mention that? It doesn't sit well with me. The interviewer then asks immediately after that part, was Summer at school? The stepdad says that, you know, she was being, well, enrolled into school and that soon she would be going, but not right now. And the mother then follows that up by saying she'd had all her injections, all her inoculations, and basically preparations had been made for Summer to go to school. But what I find weird is the fact that the mum needs to say about the inoculations. If Summer's starting school in 6 months, in a year, whenever, no one in the public needs to know if she's had her jabs, if she's had her inoculations at the doctors, so that she can safely go to school with the other children and not catch any diseases or health problems. That doesn't add up. Why would we need to know that she'd been inoculated? It's got nothing to do with her disappearance. It's just more storytelling, more exaggerating the story, more filling it with bullshit that's not needed to be mentioned. Not that I'm saying it's lies that she'd had her inoculations. I'm sure she had, but none of us need to know about it. Why do they choose to tell us? It's just not good.
She could pull herself up on that swing, her full body weight with her 2 hands. And she can do that. None of the other boys can do that, but she can.
Was she in school yet?
No,
No.
she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year.
She's in, we did all the, what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already taken all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
Yeah.
So when the mum is talking about the inoculation, she says that she, or I, is how she words it, I took care of everything. You know, I enrolled her in the school. So here, she's making sure we know that she did it all, not we. It wasn't her and the stepdad. The mum enrolled her in the school. The mum got her at the inoculation. So it's basically making us know that she's a good mum, trying to convince us that she's a good mum, which again, as I said before earlier in my video, there's no need to do that. When you've got a missing child, the last thing you think you need to do is apologise to haters on the internet, and also convince the public as a whole and the media and the police that you're a good parent. You'll know you're a good parent. You'll not feel the need to convince of that unless you've got some sort of guilty knowledge.
Was she in school yet?
No,
No.
she's going this year.
This was supposed to be her first year.
She's in, we did all the, what?
I took care of everything.
Yeah.
I had her already taken all of her shots and registered in the school for ready for this year.
So the next bit's quite disturbing. The stepdad says that he never ever expected anyone to get hold of his heart like she did. So past tense, did, not does, has, did. Talking about Summer. Really weird. And that his heart, he says something along the lines of he's quite protective of his heart and his feelings, and he lets Summer in. That's an odd thing to say. Now, you may disagree with me here, but he's talking about her like it's a romantic relationship. She's a 5-year-old girl. He's not talking about her like you talk about your stepdaughter. You know, I love that. Well, not I loved, but which is what he'd say. But he should have said, I love that little girl to bits. I love Summer so much. She lights up my life. He doesn't talk about her in a child way. He, in my opinion, and I know it's disturbing, but that's what I think, he talks about her in a romantic kind of way, like you talk about a relationship with another adult. That's not good. That's really not good. Apparently there is abuse within the family, but I don't know what it is, guys, and I haven't looked into it, and I don't wish to. I'm not sure if it was sexual abuse, domestic abuse, coercive control, mental abuse. I don't know. He's been in prison for something before, but the way he talks about the little girl is almost as if he was in love with her, not loved her. Loves, not loved. Shouldn't be using past tense, but it's almost as if he had romantic feelings for a 5-year-old, and that's really not good and very worrying.
I just never expected for anyone to get hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands, and I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back.
He then follows that up, the stepdad, by saying that she holds his heart in her little hands. which is really worrying. He then follows that up by saying that he loves her with all of his heart. You know, she holds his heart in her hands. He loves her with all of his heart, and he'd do anything to have her back. Now, I don't mean to be rude here, guys, because I have a stepmother, but for a stepfather, that's a bit weird. Now, all right, perhaps he's been in her life most of her life. She's only 5 years old, so he could have feelings for her like a proper father. I'm not saying that's not possible, but the way he talks about her as a 5-year-old girl is not normal. You know, she holds his heart in her hands. Doesn't her mother hold his heart in her hands? Not the daughter. This is not good. I mean, I'd love to know your thoughts and views on that part of the statement, guys, but that's really worrying. Really, really worrying.
I just never expected for anyone to get hold of my heart like she has, because I try to guard my heart as much as I can, but she holds my heart in her little hands, and I love her with all my heart. I'd do anything to have her back.
So the stepdad then goes on to say, if there's any way that you could find it in your heart to release her, he's not sure if it's possible.
Your little girl.
If there's any way you can find it in your heart to please release her somehow, I don't know how you might do that.
Presumably he's talking to the abductors or abductor, and if they could find it in their heart. Now, that is not normal. No one with a missing child would speak like that, so I think you know what's coming. Red flag going on there for the stepdad. You wouldn't say to an abductor, if you can find it in your heart. They probably haven't got a heart if they abduct children. They've probably got a heart made of stone if they abduct children. You wouldn't emotionally appeal to an abductor. You wouldn't. You'd maybe try and bribe them with money to get your daughter back. You'd beg and you'd plead, but you wouldn't say, can you find it in your heart? That stinks, and that's really weird. So the stepdad then goes on to say that you're probably worried about going to prison for the rest of your life, but please have mercy and find it in your heart, you know, insinuating to bring Summer home. But why is he giving any thought to what the abductor is feeling? There's no thought being given to how Summer's feeling, but yet we're giving feelings to an abductor to find in their heart to let Summer go. Now, at least he's using the girl's name more than the mum is here in this interview, but you wouldn't plead with an abductor like that. You wouldn't go down the emotional route of mentioning in their heart if they could find it in their heart. And he's not sure that it's possible that they could give her back. Well, of course it is. If a child's abducted, the abductor can give the child back at any point if they want. Generally, they're not going to. If they wanted to abduct the child, they've abducted the child, and that's that. They're not going to want to give it back. But that's an odd, very odd statement.
I mean, you're probably scared of going to prison for the rest of your life and everything else, I'm sure. But please find it in your heart, have mercy, and find a way of letting her go.
So the stepdad carries on here with his narrative of please let her come home, you know, show mercy on us and on her brothers and on her. I'm not sure why they need to show mercy on them or their brothers. Again, weird. Really, we should be focusing on missing 5-year-old Summer Wells here, whereas we're focusing on them and the brothers. Now, obviously, we all have sympathy for the brothers. I very much doubt they're involved here, but this is really weird. I mean, what I'm getting here is that the stepdad loved the little girl more than the mum. That's just what I'm getting. I could be wrong because the mum does look heavily medicated, so she might not be all there in the upstairs department when this interview is given. But the stepdad seems a lot more upset about Summer's death. He seems to love Summer a lot more, and his love for Summer is quite worrying because it doesn't seem to be a normal love of a stepfather. So another bit of past tense is coming up here. The stepdad then says that he fears that she's being tormented or held somewhere, maybe in a dungeon, which is not a nice thing to say. And if you were having those thoughts and feelings, I would imagine you'd keep them to yourself, so not to upset the little girl's mother who's sitting next to him. She may not have had those thoughts, and she might do. Now, you've just said it. So that doesn't sit well with me. Obviously, the fact he's got worry for the little girl is good, but he really shouldn't have said that in a media interview and in front of the little girl's mum. And the fact that he's the one saying how worried he is that she's being held against her will in the dungeon and the mum isn't, none of this is adding up for me. It's very odd. He seems to care about the little girl more than the mum. I have no idea who's done what here, but they've both got guilty knowledge for sure. And the way he speaks of the little girl in a sexual way, in my opinion, is really worrying. And I'm starting to wonder if there were sexual abuse things going on within the family. I hope not, but It's not good. And I don't know what to think here. I'm really perplexed by this one, guys. And I'm going to be really interested to know what the outcome is. I hope Summer's found alive, but the more I go through the rest of this interview, and there are only a couple of more minutes that I'm going to analyse here, and then I'm going to move on to the body language, and I'm sorry this is such a long video, but there is a lot to analyse here. This couple are really weird. Really weird.
And where we can get her back, and just please have mercy on her, and and us, and her brothers. And she's such a loving, good spirit. Please don't hurt her. Please let her come home. But my biggest fear is, her being tormented or locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. 'Cause a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? Go get Summer now." And that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person. And
She loved to be outside.
And I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, locked away where she can't be outside.
So following on from what the stepdad says about Summer being held against her will and in a dungeon, he says because she loves to be outside. So in other words, it would be awful if she was held against her will because she loves being outside. Then he follows that up with something along the lines of, when Summer's out playing, if we ask the boys to call her in and they don't immediately, what he's getting at is blaming the brothers, basically saying that often Summer's out playing and we'll say to the brothers, call your little sister, and insinuating that they don't do it immediately, in my opinion, is trying to pass the blame to the brothers, who I presume aren't his children, he may be the stepfather of, to make them look culpable, that they've done something wrong here. Maybe they're to blame for the little girl's disappearance, certainly not him. That's really bad. More shame and guilt being thrown at the brothers, bad mouthing the brothers. We've already bad mouthed the little girl saying she hit them over the head with sticks. So now we're going to bad mouth the brothers for not calling her in quick enough. Well, you're the stepdad, you're the mother. Maybe you shouldn't be making the brothers look after the little girl in the first place. Maybe that's your job. Just saying.
Or locked in a dungeon or basement or something, because she loved to be outside all the time. That was her, unfortunately, her downfall. 'Cause a lot of times the boys would be inside and we'd be like, "Where's Summer? Why'd you leave her out there alone? Go get Summer now." And that's happened over and over again. And we'd come out and she would always be close by, but we was always coming up. She had to be outside. She was an outdoor person.
So he follows that up, the stepdad, by saying that often it would happen, she'd be outside playing, not too far away, but the brothers wouldn't call her in quickly enough. The mum then agrees that she loves playing outside. And there's a big emphasis here on letting the public know, and the media that are interviewing her know, just how much Summer loved being outside. Now that's weird. What are they saying here? That she ran away and there was an accident and that's what's happened? The fact they keep mentioning the great outdoors and outside and how much Summer loved being outside is not sitting well with me. And I'm wondering if she came to death or harm outside of the family home. Just a guess, guys, but that's not good.
She loved to be outside.
And I'm so afraid that she's locked away. She's such a loving heart and everything, and I'm afraid that she won't be able to, locked away where she can't be outside or play with a puppy or anything, love nature, and that's my greatest fear, that she's not able to do any of these things anymore.
So the stepdad then continues on by saying he's worried that she can't play outside, that she's being held against her will, that she can't play with her puppy. And again, like I said, there seems to be quite concern here from the stepdad for Summer, but not from the mum. But the fact that he keeps going on and on about how she loves to be outside and she can't play outside, I'd be more worried about what was being done to her in this dungeon, if you think she's in a dungeon, not that she can't play outside. That's not good. But wouldn't you be more worried at what harm she was coming to, how she was feeling? It all seems a bit fake. So after the stepdad has spoken about the little girl not being able to play outside, maybe being held against her will, he says that he doesn't really want to think it, but he has wondered or thought, could she be dead? And basically insinuates that he, hopes that's not true. But that's not good. That's a real big red flag, and I'm not going to bother you with it again because I've been flying it enough during this video. But that's a red flag. You should not be thinking after a fortnight or 2 weeks after your little girl's gone missing, your little 5-year-old stepdaughter, that she's dead. Parents of missing children cling on to hope for years. People cling on to hope for 20 years, 30 years. Mary Bastholme's sister-in-law, Mary Bastholme's been missing 53 years here in the UK, but she still hopes that the woman's found, dead or alive, but some closure comes of it. You'd opt for alive. You wouldn't opt for dead after a fortnight. You'd be pushing for that little girl to be alive. You wouldn't be able to sleep at night if she thought she was dead. You'd have to cling on to some kind of positivity. So to already be thinking along the lines of, is she dead? I think she might be dead after a fortnight. Not clinging on to that positivity, that's not good. It's just a big fat red flag, and I can't get my head around these two. I'm really going to be interested to see how this case develops.
Or that she could possibly, I don't want to think she's dead, but it's a possibility. I don't want to address all the negativity. I just want to focus on the positive, because it's so easy to get, lost in that negativity and stuff, and it's just not worth it.
The haters are addressed, so to speak, again by the stepdad. He sort of says he wants to focus on the positive. He doesn't want to focus on the negative, and by that I think he means the abuse they've had on the internet, on social media. And he basically makes out that he just wants to focus on the positive. Well, he doesn't make out, I just want to focus on finding Summer. Forget the positive. The positive would be finding Summer. Put the haters to one side. Don't even address the haters. Don't waste your breath on them. Just talk about Summer and how you want to find her. And talk about her in the bloody present tense, not in the past tense. So now the next bit's quite weird. I'm going to follow on towards the end of my video with a bit more of an update on the missing sister. But the mother here of missing 5-year-old Summer Wells also has a missing sister, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Apparently, she was living between Tennessee and Arkansas, hope I've pronounced that right, when the sister goes missing. She then says that she doesn't really know what happened, and follows on by saying, she definitely doesn't know what happened. Pretty much, that's what she insinuates. So that's really weird. I don't know why you needed to bring up your missing sister. That makes this look even more suspicious, that you've got a missing sister and a missing daughter. Now, it could be a coincidence, but most people in life don't ever have a missing relative. It's quite rare. Most people that go missing are found quickly, not they don't go missing for years. I know a lot of people do, but the majority of missing people are found within 24 hours, especially children. The fact she needs to bring up her sister is weird. I don't know whether she's had abuse on the internet about the sister, but the sister's disappearance is really suspicious. I'm going to be mentioning it a bit more towards the end of my video, but the fact she's got a missing sister and now a missing daughter is either a really awful coincidence, or maybe she had something to do with the sister's disappearance. Hashtag just saying. Just saying.
When my sister went missing, I was in between Arkansas and Tennessee. I don't know all of what happened or what did happen, but I hope that they find her too and bring her home safely too.
So the mum then follows it up with, but I hope that they find her too and bring them both home. In other words, she hopes that her sister that's been missing for years is found, as is her daughter. Weird. I mean, I appreciate if she had nothing to do with her missing sister. She obviously wants her missing sister to come home, but why is she appealing for the missing sister to be found and the daughter? The missing sister's been gone years, the daughter's been gone 2 weeks, and she's 5. Pretty sure her sister wasn't 5. Now, I'm not having a go or trying to be nasty about the missing sister, that there's no urgency to find her, because I'd love for her missing sister to be found safe and well, but this is about Summer. This is about 5-year-old Summer that went missing 2 weeks prior to this interview, not your sister. Why are you even bringing your sister up? I'm guessing that someone on the internet has mentioned the sister and she felt the need to mention it, but again, it's just another big red flag. Sorry, guys. So now I just want to go through quickly what I think about the missing aunt of Summer Wells. Now, she has been missing for quite a number of years, and it would seem that she's never been found, obviously. She's still reported as a missing person, but her sister, Summer's mother, doesn't really seem to know what happened to her. Mentions her in the interview that she gives about Summer, which I found a bit weird because I would have thought you'd want to make it all about your daughter. But basically, she goes missing. It's in August of 2009, and it's August the 21st, 2009. She disappears from St. Croix, I think it's Croix Falls in Wisconsin. So that was on August the 21st in 2009, and her name is Rose Marie Bly. So that is Summer's auntie. Now, she goes missing, and 5 days later, her vehicle was found in a tractor trailer parking lot 30 miles from her home. She was on her way to Cushing, which is a place 5 miles away from where she lived in St. Croix. I think that's how you pronounce it. Sorry if I'm wrong. St. Croix or St. Croix Falls. I'm not too sure if you pronounce the X. But basically, she's meant to drive 5 miles away from her home. She's never seen again. 5 days later, her vehicle turns up in a tractor trailer parking lot 30 miles from her home. Now, no one had any explanation as to why her car would turn up there. No one seems to have any explanation as to why it could even be in that place 30 miles from where she lived when she was only meant to be going somewhere 5 miles away. So this missing persons case is quite fascinating. And as I said before, it's quite odd that this woman, Summer's mum, Candace, has got a missing sister and now a missing daughter. Now, I appreciate her sister went missing years ago, and this could be a complete coincidence, guys, but I've not really come across a missing persons case like Summer Wells, where her auntie is also missing. Seems to stink a bit weird, a bit fishy, but it could just be a coincidence. But I just wanted to give you a bit of background about her auntie, how she went missing, when she went missing. She was a very young woman, and it's extremely tragic that she's never been found. So the last bit of the interview here, the verbal statement that I'm analysing, is the stepdad by basically saying that nobody's been found, no one's ever been caught, and I think here he's talking about the missing sister. And he follows it up by saying that it kind of makes you lose hope that, a case like that, no one's been done for it. But again, I can't get my head around why the pair of them are talking about the missing sister.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, she disappeared without a trace. They haven't found anything, haven't found a body, nothing. And when you see cases like that, that's why I lose hope on Summer. I want to keep hope.
So the stepdad follows that up by saying he ends up thinking that he won't ever see her again, and that he ends up thinking in the past tense, trying to cover his tracks for the fact of the abnormal amount of times that he's mentioned Summer in the past tense throughout this media interview is because he's kind of given up hope in his mind and therefore talking about her in past tense. That's still not normal, and he doesn't realise that clearly. If you've got a missing person, loved one, family member, daughter, especially a 5-year-old daughter, stepdaughter or daughter, you wouldn't just resign yourself to the fact that she was dead and that you were never going to find her. You wouldn't do that, and you certainly wouldn't process in your brain after 2 weeks of the person being missing that they were dead. Therefore, using past tense is dodgy. You wouldn't use it as much as they do. You might use it once by mistake, but not frequently throughout a 10 to 12 minute media interview. The pair of them both do it, which stinks. It's not just one of them. But it's just weird. I've never really seen a pair of parents constantly use past tense about a missing child and keep correcting themselves, especially the stepdad. Oh, well, I'm sorry, I've used past tense again. Whoops. Wow, this is so abnormal.
That's why I lose hope on Summer. I want to keep hope, but sometimes I lose hope, and I think, well, maybe we won't never see her again, so I start thinking in past tense. Sorry, but I'm trying to keep hope up. I'm trying to keep my prayers up and all that.
So I'm not going to, for the body language, keep including the footage because I've done that with the statement analysis, but things I pick up from the pair of them is the mum makes less eye contact with the journalists or the media than the stepdad. They both often look off to the side rather than make eye contact, but the mum tends to look down more than the stepdad, and that often, but not always, often indicates guilty knowledge. Sorry to say, that's how I feel. They seem quite still and they don't move much within their bodies, but they are sat down giving an interview, so you wouldn't expect them to be jigging all around all the place. So there's not much movement of hands to be able to analyse that. There are facial parts of body language that you can see. The mother sort of looks upset sometimes, but not fully, And you don't tend to see the grief muscle in between the eyebrows sort of coming up, and you'll see it when I look upset about cases. Probably throughout this video you can notice me doing it. I probably can't just do it offhand. It's a natural thing that you can't fake, and if you can fake it, you must be a very good actor. But you don't see the grief muscle in the head, in the forehead. You don't see tears welling up in their eyes at any point, which I find strange. You would have thought that they would have actually maybe even cried throughout the interview. Maybe they're good at holding in emotions, I'm not sure, but their body language stinks. To be honest, their statements are much more abnormal than their body language, but the body language isn't great either here, guys. Really, really abnormal. Both send red flags to me. The statements send more red flags than the body language, but perhaps they were trying to keep it all in, not let it all out, but this is just not a good case, not a good case at all. So the general theme with the body language is that the mother makes very little eye contact with the interviewer. Her eyes tend to sort of, she's talking to them, but she's looking off that way. Sometimes she's looking that way. Sometimes she's looking down. I think I've only spotted a couple of times where she almost makes direct eye contact with the interviewer, which is not good. Looking down a lot can be an indicator of deception. The stepdad tends to make more eye contact with the interviewer, but often it's not direct, it's sort of off to the side. Whereas the mum seems to stare off into space when she's speaking, which makes me think she's medicated. I could be wrong on that, but either she's not had much sleep and she's tired, or she's clearly on some sort of medication. I don't know what that is. Could be Valium or something to calm her nerves. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but there's something not right about the pair of them. Their body language isn't hugely deceptive. You know, there's not loads of eye rubbing going on, or covering their mouth, or touching their head, scratching their head. You know, there's not lots of nervous body language here, but there's a lot of tense body language. There's a lot of not making eye contact, which is strange. Not always deceptive, but strange. If your daughter was missing, you'd want to make eye contact with the interviewer. You'd want to look at them. You'd want to look at the public whilst giving your interview about your missing daughter to get your point across. Really weird that they don't want to make the eye contact, especially the mother. It just don't sit well with me. Something I definitely noticed about the stepdad is he's a lot more animated with his hands, with actions, when he's talking about summer playing, you know, talking about the lawnmower over there on the grass. The mum isn't very animated with the hands. It might just be that she's not very expressive with the hands. I'm very expressive with my hands, as you might have noticed, but it could just be that she's not as expressive with her hands. But the stepdad definitely feels the need to tell the story with the hands, make it more believable. I'm not saying that that means he's lying, but they're definitely being deceptive about something. So I did say towards the start of my video that I'd spotted, or I'd heard and witnessed whilst watching this interview from Summer Wells's parents, an embedded confession, which is extremely worrying, guys. Personally, it gives me some sort of insight into perhaps how Summer might have died, if she's died, because again, I could be wrong, but these are just my thoughts and views that, you know, as I say, they're always just my opinions, guys, and I could be wrong. I'm not making any accusations here, but there's an embedded confession. Now, the clip from the mother is not included in the clip I've shared with you previously, which is around 10 or 12 minutes long. It's another excerpt from that interview, but it wasn't included in the footage that I found the first time round. I've then listened to some other clips from the interview. Perhaps not all of it was used on the television channel that broadcast the interview, and this is where I found the embedded confession. But just to let you guys know, it is from the same interview. So I want to read it out to you just so I get it right. And it was given by Summer's mother, Candus. She says, "I'm just scared that somebody is hurting her, and there's nothing I can do about it. And it smothers me." So I'll just read you that one more time. "I'm just scared that somebody is hurting her, and there is nothing I can do about it. And it smothers me." Now, you can probably all guess what's happening, what's coming. It's a red flag for Candus. Now, I'm really sorry to use the red flag for such a awful thing that she says, but in my opinion there, guys, Candus is basically confessing to potentially the fact that Summer was smothered.
Summer's mom, Candus, says she's been receiving hateful messages on social media, most of which she says calls her a bad mom.
And I'm sorry that you guys feel that way, but that's my baby, and nobody would ever treat her like that as long as I was around. Ever.
Summer's mom says she's fearing the worst.
I'm just scared that somebody is hurting her, and there's nothing I can do about it, and it smothers me.
So as I always say, guys, this is just my opinion. I don't mean anyone any harm by it, but really, you know, most mothers wouldn't say they feel smothered by the fact that, you know, their daughter's gone, or that they can't get out of their head that they might be coming to some harm. They may say that they're very worried that their daughter's coming to harm and that it's playing on their mind all the time. But to use the term smothered really raises massive red flags for me. Huge red flags, because it makes me wonder if someone was smothered. Now, I'm not saying the mother smothered her. Maybe one of the other family members did and she's aware of it and she witnessed it. I don't know. Again, this could be an accident that's been covered up. Perhaps there really was an abductor that took Summer away. Personally, I don't believe that, but I feel that was an embedded confession, guys. So I'm now going to show you the clip of it. You can make your own views and have your own thoughts on it. But as always, I'd love to know your thoughts on whether you feel that's an embedded confession. Is it something, if you've already watched these media interviews, that you'd picked up on, the fact that the word smothered had been used? Because for me, it raises real big red flags, and I'd love to know your comments, so pop them below. I hope Summer is not dead. I hope she hasn't been smothered, and I really hope that I'm wrong. So I just want to include now some footage from the Sheriff's Department in Tennessee, in Hawkins County, where 5-year-old Summer Wells has gone missing, just to give you a bit of background about what the search has entailed, how in-depth the search has been, what sort of authorities are helping with the search, just to give you a bit more background about the case. So I'm just going to include that footage now, as I do think it will be of interest.
Good afternoon. I'm Leslie Earhart with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. The status is the same as it was on Monday when we last held a media briefing. We're still trying to find Summer. It's now been 1 week and 2 days since she went missing. There's still two aspects of this case: the active search and the investigation. You'll hear more about the search in just a minute. TBI agents and Hawkins County detectives working alongside the FBI continue to work around the clock to determine what happened to Summer Wells. In order to preserve the integrity of the investigation, we can't discuss everything we're doing and have done to find Summer. Here's what we can tell you. Numerous residents and individuals associated with the family have been interviewed. Surveillance video and photos have been reviewed, as well as other potential digital evidence. We're still working to identify everyone in the area on the afternoon that Summer went missing. One of you asked us in a previous briefing the standard amount of time it takes for a case like this to be resolved. While every case is different, this one is definitely outside of the norm. Typically, in an investigation like this one, we have some idea of where the case is headed and what might have happened within a few days. In this situation, despite doing everything within our power and exploring all avenues, the circumstances leading to Summer's disappearance remain unclear. I understand the lack of answers frustrates you in the public, but trust me, no one is more frustrated than we are. If we develop information that will lead to locating Summer, we will share that with you first and foremost. In the meantime, we ask anyone with information who hasn't come forward to please call 1-800-TBI-FIND. I'll turn it over to Sheriff Ronnie Lawson.
Thank you. Just to go along with Leslie, I know there's a lot of social media going on out there, a lot of detectives going on, but they're absolutely useless unless these people that's 100% positive calls 1-800-TBI-FIND. That means nothing. We're monitoring all social media and everything that you all put out from people that you all interview. And I assure you, you'd have to work very hard to find somebody that we haven't talked to. They may not tell you. One point I want to make and clear up, obviously, is a couple of days ago, I asked for the public not to help us in our search in the woods and stuff. That is because we know where every searcher is, where every team is, and the captain and his staff, they're tracking everyone. So if we get the general public in the woods, we don't know about it, and they're going to get missed when they go home or don't go home. So it's going to be somebody else, and we have to generate time and information and resources to find. What I did ask for, and I still need, is all the people in Upper Beach Street, in Hawkins and Sullivan County, to search their property again and again. You got to look for a small child. You have to look for evidence of a small child's been. And if you got field cameras, if you got security cameras, we need you to check those again. Just keep checking them and checking them. We're trying to find every vehicle that's in this holler they're living since we started this. And we also did a roadblock, which helped at the same time that she was reported missing, to see if we come in contact with somebody that's been working that we could see. Obviously, there's nothing came out of that, but it's just another tool that we've used to make this happen. So if the general public that lives in this area will go back and search their outbuildings, their barns, their hay fields. That's mowing season, so when they mow, they need to pay attention. And if you have a resident that cannot search their property themselves, they'll call my office at 423-272-4848. I will send an officer to your residence to search your property for you. It's a cooperation that we must need. I know some of the residents probably getting frustrated with seeing the officers, but as the captain will tell you, we've had very intense operations all week long for 9 days now. And we're not done yet because, like I told you from day one, it's about finding Summer. That's the #1 goal here. Captain?
Thanks, Sheriff. As of June 24th, 2021, search and rescue efforts for missing 5-year-old Summer Wells continues. We have now utilized 106 agencies spanning from Tennessee, Ohio, Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, and North Carolina assisting in these search efforts. Numerous specialized search and rescue groups with numerous canine teams have been represented from each of these agencies. To date, we have covered over 4.6 square miles, with that being over 3,000 acres being searched since Tuesday night when she was reported missing. The rugged mountainous terrain continues to cause problems. This has slowed search operations down in these areas, but please be rest assured, while incurring these conditions, we are still searching with an aggressive approach with extreme attention to detail. These terrains and conditions have exhausted crews both physically and mentally. We are still utilizing local and regional resources, but have had to call upon and utilize resources from Middle and West Tennessee, along with out-of-state resources. Search efforts will continue on a more specialized team basis throughout the rest of the week. Just because you may not see us in such a large presence, once again, rest assured, we are still out here searching for Summer Wells. We will continue to work with the Hawkins County Sheriff's Department, TBI, and FBI until we find Summer Wells. As mentioned before, as Sheriff here mentioned, please continue to search your personal property. Sullivan County, Hawkins County, mainly the Beach Street community, and even if you branch a little bit further, please search. And I've been telling these searchers here the last several days, when you're looking for this property, you're not looking for adult laying there. You're not looking for adult hiding in the building. We're looking for a 5-year-old girl that weighed approximately 40 pounds. Somebody that size could wad up, could hide in an area that a legal size piece of paper or a folded up laptop could go. This is also the reason why we are exhausting all efforts. This terrain, as you can see behind us, guys, is only a small, very small percentage of what these guys day in and day out are going through. I've had multiple of my guys come up to me and tell me, Captain, I'll go to the end, but I'm tired. I'm physically and I'm mentally tired. We are all one team, and we will not quit until we find Summer Wells. Thank you.
We'll take a few questions.
Have you searched some of these areas over and over again numerous times in these fields and things like that?
Absolutely. Captain, can you answer that question?
Yes, so over these 4.6 square miles, and I'll kind of elaborate on some of these specialized teams. There's some of these areas, guys, we have covered 4, 5, and 6 times. And we have community members, media outlets reaching out going, well, we have neighbors saying you're covering the same ground. We are. New ground, same ground, different eyes, fresh bodies. Guys, one flat looking field, there's 100 places something could be hid, evidence, and or she could be hid. So yes, we have covered multiple ground multiple times, and we'll continue to do so.
Captain Coop, I know some reward has been talked about. I know your agency, Church and Rescue Squad, is apparently in charge of that. Can you give us some details on what the reward looks like right now?
Yes, so there has been some people that have reached out to our agency, reached out to TBI and Sheriff's Department about providing reward money for information leading up to the finding and or recovery of Summer Wells. At this time, I can confirm that is correct and that our agency is working to get this account set up. Once this information is available, our agency will provide a media release with this information on how the general public can also give money for this. But at the same point in time, guys, we're running on limited resources, and we're trying everything we can do that without interfering with the search for Summer Wells.
Leslie, at this point in the search and investigation, do you believe Summer Wells is still alive?
We hope so, but honestly, we just don't know. I mean, we're holding out hope, doing everything we can. Obviously, we typically would have found a child at this stage in the investigation, so honestly, we just don't know.
How many tips has the TBI received so far?
I don't have the exact number with me, but it's well over 300 at this point.
I know we've all spoken with the family and then talked about sort of what led up to that missing incident here. Can you just sort of elaborate on what you guys know for sure happened before she went missing that Tuesday night?
We can't release any more than what we've already provided. We know that she was supposedly with family members outside of her home, was seen going into the home. When her mother went to check on her, she was not in the house.
Sheriff, I know you mentioned before that you hadn't had to obtain any search warrants. Is that still the case?
My office has not obtained any search warrants, and I really don't know if the other agencies has. I've been coordinating with the captain here and the investigators. They're all working together, and we haven't briefed each other this afternoon.
What about lie detector tests? Has anybody been given those?
I think she can address this.
Well, it's no secret that the TBI has a polygraph unit. We don't discuss specifics, but I can tell you that we use that as an investigative tool. In a situation like this, we're going to use every resource and tool available to us.
There's billboard seen in Myrtle Beach. Are you guys aware of that? Has the search taken you guys even out of state to some extent?
We follow up on all leads that come in, even if they're out of state. We have received some tips from other states, but they didn't prove to be credible leads. We are aware of the billboards. That's not something the TBI coordinates, but we appreciate the effort.
Leslie, are cadaver dogs being used as part of the canine team being brought in?
Absolutely, yes.
No law enforcement outside of the house today. Any reason for that?
There's no reason. We have had agents and officers to just touch base with the family on a daily basis. So they were there earlier. The family continues to cooperate at this time. If we have questions, they answer our questions. If we need them to come to the command post to clarify some information, they respond. So they've been very cooperative.
Speaking of the command post, we have noticed some larger FBI presence as well, including like an FBI People's Park team.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just elaborate a little bit on their role in this investigation? What do they do?
They're just another resource available. Now, I would refer you to the FBI for specifics on what that team does, but they specialize in missing children cases. And again, we're using all resources available. They've been here since last weekend, and we were in communication with them before last weekend. So it's just another resource, and we're grateful for any help we can get.
Leslie, now on day 10, do you guys feel like you have more information, better informed than you did on day 1 Tuesday night?
We don't. We still don't know where Summer is. We don't know what happened to her, and it's extremely frustrating. I can't tell you how heartbreaking it is. The sheriff has worked around the clock. His team's worked around the clock. The search crews, TBI agents, FBI agents, we're doing everything we can to find her, but to not have any more answers than we do at this stage, it's just heartbreaking.
Have you been able to narrow down the timeline any more when she was
Not any more than what we originally released. We know that her family reported her missing. They called the sheriff's office around 6:30. Prior to that, it was early afternoon when she was last seen, and they searched for a little bit and then reported her missing.
How many hours would you say?
I don't have that information.
Question for Captain or Sheriff: what's the biggest obstacle standing in your way? Is it the heat? Is it just the fatigue? Is it the terrain? What do you think is the number one thing that's hurting you guys in this investigation?
To say hurting this investigation on my aspect of things, nothing's hurting us. We encounter difficult situations so far, and we overcome situations. From here on out, it is going to be providing our team the rest and assurance to make sure that we can provide more and more fresh body, fresh eyes to be able to come in and help search for Summer Wells.
As far as my office, it's been pretty hard because my office don't stop. We're still answering calls, still doing investigations that come in, and we're still running the jail, but I'm alternating the officers out. And like's been said, everyone, the command post's been there this week, everyone now is getting mentally, physically, and emotionally just drained. And we're going to have to rehab and start back again, but we're not going to stop. We're going to find something.
Is there anything the community can do to help you guys at this point? I know that everyone's been bringing food and water and stuff like that. Is there anything else that you guys need?
Actually, I think they've done everything they possibly could. We've even getting fresh home-cooked meals from churches and things brought in, and we have meals for all the officers and searchers and investigators, but enormous outpour of support shown by this community and actually people here in East Tennessee. We're very pleased.
Hey guys, thank you for coming out. I know a couple of you had questions asking why we are not having daily media briefings. The simple answer is we just haven't had any new information to provide. But just because we don't have a briefing doesn't mean that you can't reach out to us and ask any questions you may have. And of course, we are going to continue to post updates on Twitter and the TBI Facebook page. And feel free to check with us if you have any additional questions or need clarification. Thank you. Take care.
I think I'm going to wrap up soon, guys, because it's been a very long video, but these two don't sit well with me. I'd love to know your comments as always, so pop them below. I hope and I pray that 5-year-old Summer Wells is going to be found safe and alive and well, but from what I can see of these two people, they're deceptive, they're hiding something, they've both got guilty knowledge, but what I can't figure out in my brain and what's been bugging me all day is, do they both know what happened to Summer? Or does just one of them know and they've hid it from the other one? Or do they both know? It would make much more sense to me that they both know, and I do think they both know, but their behaviour is strange. The mum distances herself from the daughter and doesn't want to use the daughter's name. The stepdad doesn't. Could there be abuse going on within the family of a sexual nature? I hope not, but I am suspicious. And I just wonder what's going to happen here. I hope Summer's body, if she has been killed or murdered or come to some harm, is found. But 2 weeks have passed. The police seem quite confused by what's happened. Personally, I think they've got theories, but they don't want to let us know what they are because there's still an active missing persons investigation going on here, which could potentially turn into a homicide investigation or murder investigation. So I just don't know what's gone on here. I definitely think they've got guilty knowledge. I'll keep my eye on the case, guys. If they give any more interviews, I will, of course, update you. If any more comes from the police searches and Summer's found, whether alive or dead, I will obviously do another video to do an update. But I just pray this little girl's found safe and that I'm wrong about her parents. Well, anyway, guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I know it's a very upsetting case. A missing 5-year-old girl is a tragedy. It's not good. The parents' behaviour is not good. The whole case is not good. I hope she's found safe and well, like I said. I will update you as soon as there is any more news. And if any of you guys can get your hands on that 911 call, please put the links below because I really want to listen to it and analyse it. Because if the stepdad did have guilty knowledge, it may come out in this 911 call. Well, anyway, guys, as always, I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Thank you so much to all my new subscribers. I really appreciate your support. As always, guys, look after yourselves. Keep your chin up throughout these difficult times of coronavirus. Look after each other. Keep well and safe, and I'll be back very soon with another true crime video. Bye for now.